Uh, Thank you all for coming this evening. My name is Lynn O'Doherty, and I'd like to introduce Liz Kingston and Jill Murphy, both lecturers in the Department of Nursing and Midwifery at the University of Limerick. Just to let you know, just to tell you that Jill's research interests would be their nurse education, gerontology, understanding the concept of dignity, appreciative inquiry, and also action research methodologies. Liz's research interests are infection prevention and control, hand hygiene, teaching and assessment, and technology enhanced learning. So you're all very welcome. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do have a question, I'd be grateful if you would put it up on the chat box, please, and I will read it out, and Liz and Jill can answer those questions. And I also have questions that have already been submitted from the application. So thank you for submitting those questions. And I'll start with one of those, if you don't mind. So Liz, I'll ask you, if you don't mind, how many hours would a student be expected to work, a postgraduate student? You're muted there, Liz, sorry.
That's a good start. Okay, thanks, Lynn, and thanks for the introduction. And hello to everybody, and you're very welcome on the call. So I suppose around our postgraduate diplomas and the master's degree programs, typically the students would be in class for 1 day a week. And that predominantly, as it just so happens, falls on a Tuesday. So during that day, then they would be scheduled for the entire day, usually, you know, from 9 until 4 or 9 until 5. And then, of course, outside of that, there would be an expectation then, I suppose, of, you know, commitment around self-directed learning, reading materials that are covered in the modules, and a lot of the content then is also delivered online. So there's also an online aspect. So we typically would have a 12-week semester. And in that semester, then 6 of the Tuesdays, let's say, for example, 6 of those would be face-to-face contact time on campus. And then the other 6 would be contact time online. So it may be lectures delivered online, it may be recorded lectures and so on. So there'd be a variety of different modalities there for the student to engage on those 6 online days. So that would be the sort of the 12-week semester. But then outside of that, there would be an expectation then around, as I said, the reading and the self-directed component. And then, of course, ultimately preparation for, you know, assessment. So some of the assessment might be during the module and some might be at the end of the module, depending on how the module is structured.
Thanks, Liz. I suppose following on from that, how many days then, if the student is on campus on the Tuesday, would they have to take, do you think, a day off during the week to study what they learned on the Tuesday, or would it be, you know, would they be able to do it in their free time?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that, Lynn? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's sort of a follow-on from what you've said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I suppose that kind of brings us nicely to that issue of the study leave, and that's a question that students often have. So I'm glad that's come in already. And as I say, the predominant requirement would be for that 1 day of study or attendance, if you like, per week. So, you know, the expectation then would be over the semester, you'd have 12 weeks in the first semester and then 12 weeks in the second semester. So it would be 1 day a week for those 2 12-week semesters, say in year 1, typically. But outside of that, then there wouldn't be an expectation that a student would need to take an additional day off. We find that most of our students then are able to cover the rest of the content in their sort of off-duty hours, you know, in their evenings and weekends. So we generally don't find that students look for additional support outside of that. But then, of course, it does depend too on, you know, what they can negotiate with their own employer in relation to that. You know, that's a slightly different matter, but you know, in terms of the ability to cope with course material and so on, I think certainly they probably would not require an additional day of leave.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Liz.
I just come in on that as well.
Please
I
do,
suppose
yeah.
it's the reality as well, and the challenges of, you know, for the majority of our students in nursing midwifery postgrad, people are working full time. So it is challenging balancing working full time and studying, even though it's 1 day a week, it's a master's program. But as Liz said, you know, people have succeeded and are very successful. And I think time management is a huge aspect of that aspect. I suppose at master's level, I think there's an expectation that you put in 12 to 16 hours study over the week. So whether it be that people get up early in the morning, or, you know, again, people learn, it has to work for people. Some people are good working at night and studying, others in the morning. But saying that, there's an awful lot of supports here in UL for that challenges. We have a terrific teaching and writing centre and transformation learning centre and library supports, and we've Adrian here tonight, an education technologist as well, who's terrific, brought us all up to speed with online learning over the last 2 years. So, you know, all the supports are in place. So, you know, getting off on the right foot with management, you know, but that challenge is there as well, you know, of studying and working full time. But saying that, we have a very good success rate.
Thanks very much, Jill. I'll ask you the next question if you don't mind. What type of assignments or assessments would be expected of the students?
Again, there's a variety, and it's to meet the students' learning needs, because everybody learns differently, just as much as ourselves would have different teaching styles. So again, we'd have a variety. You may be there may be something like a group presentation. You may be expected to deliver a presentation in your topic area. If it was older person, or if it was infection control, you may have a 15-minute presentation with the group. I know a lot of people might shudder at that because they might think, oh, I'm so nervous and I don't like presenting. But every year we ask the students, should we do this every year? And they say, oh no, it was great. It was a way of engaging, working together and learning together and sharing knowledge, because there's so much knowledge now. It's not possible to learn everything. So it is, you know, and as nurses and midwives, we work collaboratively together. So it's an opportunity, you know, to learn your strengths about working together. You may have a written assignment again, so that could be worth maybe 60% or 50%. The word count would depend on the weighting, whether it's 60% or 80%. You may have an online question, so you may get half an hour to answer 20 short questions. Just thinking, again, because we're nurses and midwives and we're very skills based, there may be an observation exam. So you may be, you know, asked to go in, just for example, I keep it very simple, you know, to assess somebody's blood pressure and temperature. That's at a very minimum level now, you know, of course, to the, you know, but again, as part of UL policy with assessments, that on week 1, normally the lecturer would share the format and the type of assessments that would make up the 100%. Again, to meet people's learnings, the assessments would be spread over the 12 weeks. So again, you may have, you know, might have that short online questionnaire on week 4. You may do your presentation on week 7, and then the written assignment would be maybe due in on week 12 or week 13. So they are spread out again as well. So that would be a flavour types.
Thanks, Jill. So there are exams, written exams, shall we, sort of different to the traditional.
There's a dog there somewhere in the background.
Just wants to say hello to us, Liz. Yes. And I can hear my fella out the back. Anyway.
So sorry now. I'm so sorry, everyone. The reality. Sorry.
The reality of working at home.
You know, he's looking for his walk now. That's it. Sorry, everybody. Apologies. Sorry, Lynn, there I cut you off there with your question.
No, that's interesting with the type of we'll say exam question or assignment or assessment, you know, that you have, that's very interesting. So there isn't it's not like your undergraduate where at the end of the year you're sitting down and you have your 4 modules and you're going to have a written exam in the 4 modules.
Yeah, now again, because you would have 4 modules, you know, again, you do have, you know, a number of assignments running together, but it isn't that the 100% would be assessed at the very end of the module. It would be split maybe 20, 30, you know, 50 or 40, 60.
It's nice. It takes the pressure off a little bit, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think so. Yeah.
So Liz, another question that was asked, would you have to be working in the area that you decide to do the master's in?
Okay, so again, so we run a number of different master's programs, and I suppose there are some programs where there wouldn't be an expectation, I suppose, that you'll be working in the area. Now, take, for example, with the prescribing program, the certificate in prescribing program, that would be certainly a requirement of the program that you'll be working in the area within which you would hope to prescribe when you would be qualified as a registered prescriber. But for a lot of our programs, you know, students are taking postgraduate programs because they're aspiring maybe to work in a particular field. And so the program is a tool or a step in that direction, you know, in terms of maybe, as I said, moving to that area, or maybe in terms of a promotional process. So it isn't always a requirement of the program that you're working in that particular area. So for example, I'll just pick one that I'm familiar with, which would be the Masters in Infection Prevention and Control. So it's not essential that you're working in infection control role in your clinical area. What's important there is that you have an interest in learning in that area, and that it may be somewhere that you'd like to work in, you know, in the immediate future or even in the long-term future. So it does depend, I suppose, on the program that you're going to be studying.
Okay.
So
very good. That's nice opportunity again for people to, you know, advance and also change tack, if you like.
There is one, I think the peri-op program, all right, there is a requirement that you're working in theatre, but again, that would be on the website details as well, and it's something we would alert people to, you know, immediately as well.
Thanks, Jill.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. Yeah.
Can a student do the post-grad in a year? Is there, you know, it's 2 years on the website. It says it's a 2-year program. Is it possible to maybe get a qualification after a year instead of going on to the master's? Jill, do you want to take that one?
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks. Yeah, again, when when a potential applicant or student comes online and looks on the programs, it looks like a 2 years master's program. But students do have the opportunity to complete year 1 of the program, and towards the end of year 1, students given the opportunity then to decide, will I go on to year 2 to complete the master's program, or I also have the opportunity to come off after year 1 and graduate with a postgraduate diploma in the program that they signed up for. So that is lovely, really. It's a caveat, really, you know, and it's very nice because people don't feel under pressure then locked in. And lovely. The other opportunity then is, you know, for people coming back into study, sometimes it can be, you know, difficult. And again, like we said at the start there, the challenge of working full-time and part-time, you know, for many reasons, time-wise, people feel they can't commit to a full program. Or secondly, it may be quite a while since they came back into education. So there is an opportunity to do one module, you know, say a postgraduate program would be roughly, you know, 6 to 8 modules for year 1. So you could come and do 1 or 2 modules. So that would be 2 hours a week on a Tuesday. And, you know, that suits a lot of people as well coming back in. So then what that means at the end of the module then, so the modules would be semesterized. So you could do 1 module in the autumn, September to December, and you could do 1 module in January to May. And then what would happen is you'd be awarded a university certificate of study at level 9, which is, you know, wonderful. And then if you decided, well, you know, this is okay and I'd like to keep going, you could come back the following year then and complete the modules that you hadn't completed and get the year 1 postgraduate certificate, and then decide if you want to move into year 2 as well.
Very
So
good.
just a nice choice for people,
Yeah.
really, you know.
I suppose it sort of builds people's confidence up as well, particularly if you haven't studied, as you say, for a number of years, you know.
That's it, yeah, it is.
So if you go ahead and sign up for the 2-year program, but decide to leave after a year, and then in a couple of years decide you would like to complete the master's program, is that possible? And how long is that window open to a student? Liz, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is possible to exit with the postgraduate award, Lynn, and then to return on to year 2. And generally, the timeline there is within 5 years. So that's in relation to just the whole knowledge and evidence base of the material that's being studied. You know, evidence and knowledge changes, and we would sort of record that on a sort of a 5-yearly basis. So within a 5-year window, really, is the opportunity to come back and rejoin into year 2. So you might take a break of a year or 2 years and then decide you're going to come back. In fact, I was speaking to a student today. I was just teaching today, and I was speaking to a student, and she had a very eventful journey. She had completed year 1 of her master's and qualified and graduated, exited the master's program with her postgraduate diploma. She then took the prescribing program this year. So she was so she's on that program at the moment, and she's planning on returning in September and doing year 2 of her master's. So, you know, so so there's really, you know, there's lots of opportunities, and it is very, very flexible. And I think that's the lovely thing about studying at UL, is that there is so much choice now and flexibility offered to students, and there's so many different routes and access around the different options. So there's nice options available for students. And as Jill said, you know, that lovely taster of doing a module is a great it's a great opportunity for students to get a feel for whether they want to do more and study more.
And actually, I'm glad you mentioned those modules, Liz, because just to clarify, if a person did those, would they get an exemption? You know, if they did decide to do the program?
Yeah. So it's a very good question, and it's the answer now is a little bit long-winded on that one, but so what happens there, and this is, you know, part of the policies within the university, I suppose, that, you know, to protect everybody and protect students. So if a student has completed a module that's part of a program, they need to apply for the program. And once they're accepted onto the program, which would typically be in, you know, probably August, they're accepted onto the program. And then once they accept their place on the program and actually enroll on the program, they can then apply for the exemption. So the exemption isn't granted until they're actually registered on the program. So they apply then for the exemption. That's reviewed by a committee within the university or the department. And then a decision is communicated very fast. So they would usually know within a week or 2 of starting the program what the status of their exemption application is. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Liz. Liz, I'll ask you, or Jill, I'll ask you this question if you don't mind. Do I need a degree to do the program, the MSc?
Yeah, no, again, we have an opportunity here in UL, and it's right across the university. There's a process called recognised prior learning. So again, I know myself would have trained old style as a nurse. I would have, you know, had a certificate was what we were awarded when we trained. So, you know, there is a mix of nurses and midwives. Some have degrees and some don't. So if you don't have a degree, the recognised prior learning, as part of the application when you apply, we'd screen the applications, so we'd recognise that somebody hasn't a degree. So they're sent out an application form. It would be a statement, I'd call it maybe a 2-page statement, to write why they feel they'd like to do the programme. Again, just, you know, to talk a little bit about their background and how they feel that the programme would help them. And that is sent in then and it's assessed. But again, we're very much here to support students along the way. So even people completing the form, there's no problem contacting ourselves and the other course directors, you know, to complete the supporting statement. So recognised prior learning, it's written as RPL. So it's great, really, as well, you know.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill.
And just picking up on that as well, and just coming back to the point we were making there earlier about the individual modules, you know, they might have taken an individual module as well, so they can use that module then as evidence of their, you know, their learning and their achievement at level 9. So that again, you know, any continuous professional development that they would have done, they would submit that as part of their evidence, and it would support their application. So, and a lot of students use those, don't they, Jill? They, you know, they would take the module and then apply maybe a year later under the ORPEL route to apply for the master's program. Yeah.
As well.
Thanks, Liz. So Patrick has just sent in a question there. Can a newly graduated nurse enroll on any of the nursing and midwifery master program at UL? I think we touched on that before a little bit earlier, but maybe if you want to just explain it.
Again, there's a mix there, and again, you'll be saying we're full of buts now. There's no straightforward answer, and again, there's no straightforward answer, so that, you know, we're accommodating and you know, find a route for everyone. There are some programs, the Masters in Nursing, newly qualified, and we have a number of students that come straight into the Masters programs. Our specialised programs, it would be a recommendation that you would have a year's experience in that area of practice, because again, you know, it would be about applying the theory to the practice. So again, what I'd say to people, if they're interested in a certain program, is maybe to contact, you know, the course directors, and our contact details would be on the web page, because it varies from program to program. But the Masters in Nursing, you can come straight onto it. We have another program, Masters in Advanced Nurse Practitioner or Midwife, but again, you would need to be working in that area of care that you plan to complete the Masters in.
Yeah. And again, it's same with the Masters in Infection Control. You don't have to have, you can come on, following on from your degree, you can come straight onto the Masters program on that as well. So as Jill said, it depends on the program, and all of the programs are listed on our website. And, you know, the particular entry requirements then for each individual program, because I think we have probably 9 or is it 10 postgraduate programs. So, you know, difficult to go through them all now within the time frame. But yeah, so certainly we would refer Patrick and the others on the call, have a look at the website and just look specifically at the entry requirements for the different master's programs. But as Jill said, you know, some do require experience and others don't. So yeah, so there is options there. Was there any particular program, Patrick, you were interested in or thinking about? And I'm not putting you on the spot now or anything, but just, you know, if there is, you know, you'd be able to see that, see the information, the particular entry requirements on the website. Yeah.
Okay, there aren't any questions, David or Shannon. Do you? Oh, it's infection control.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, that's good. I've answered that. So, yeah, you can come straight on to that master's program from your degree program. Yeah, you can. Yeah, and the health systems. I'm not sure that we have a health systems master's. So, I'm not sure which one you're thinking about there, but we don't have a health systems masters at the moment in UL. No. Yeah. Okay. So Shannon's also interested in that program, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. I think that's a very popular program at the moment. There was big numbers on that program the last 2 years as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's right, Jill. It is, and it's very timely. And we're actually just developing our marketing video for that program at the moment, and we'll have that out soon. But yeah, there's been great interest and great participation on the program, and you know, it's very timely, obviously, with the pandemic, the global pandemic. But we're also finding, you know, there's a lot of opportunities as well in practice now in terms of working, I suppose, in infection control. And, you know, the program is useful in that sense, and all of our programs are useful in that sense, I suppose, in terms of thinking about your career direction and, you know, opportunities then that present for moving to work in a particular field that you're interested in, or in a promotional prospect as well. So it's good to keep those things in mind.
Yeah. I mean, the mix in the class last year, we'd newly qualified people, with people just starting to work in infection control, some who had never worked in infection control, and then, you know, people who've been working with it with a lot of experience. So again, that's where the assessments all tie in, and people, you know, learn from each other as well. There's great opportunities.
Yeah. And there is one or two of our programs as well. I suppose it's just something that might be of interest to people. It's, you know, I'm not sure if all of our audience tonight are nurses, but some of our programs are interprofessional as well. So, for example, the Masters in Infection Control, we had a physiotherapist taking that last year, and a podiatrist as well. So there is an interprofessional, I suppose, aspect to some of our programs, and that would be one. And I think the other one would be the MSc in perinatal mental health as well. That's also not a nursing master's, but it's a broader master's in terms of healthcare professionals. So there are some choices there, and that always adds then a nice level of you know, a new dynamic to the classroom setting. You know, it's nice to work with other professionals, and I did that myself with my own master's program. I was on an interprofessional master's, and it's lovely to, you know, to be in the class with people from other professions, because you're, you know, you're sort of learning from each other as well. So yeah, so that's another just aspect that might be people might find interesting. Yeah.
Thanks, Liz and Jill. I think that's okay. I think we can leave now, and unless David, Shannon, or Patrick have any other questions.
Okay.
But look, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank both of you, and Adrienne as well. It's great. It's great to hear. I mean, I've learned so much about nursing and midwifery postgrads tonight, which is lovely. And I hope our guests have also.
Yeah, and more than welcome to contact us, you know, if you have queries. Hopefully we'll meet you in September. You'll be very welcome. And UL, if we start talking about UL, it's a beautiful campus. It's you know, and the facilities are fantastic here as well. So, you know, it's a privilege really to have the opportunity to come and study in UL. It's a lovely campus as well.
Yeah. And I just put my email address in there, actually. If anybody, I just happen to be the course director for the Masters in Infection Prevention and Control. So if anybody has any questions on that one and the other programs, we can always refer you to another person. So please do. And I suppose the other thing is, we didn't talk about the closing date, but I think it's probably late July, Jill. Am I right there? I don't know.
I think so. I think it was around the 20th, I think, is where it was sitting there. Yeah.
So just to keep that in mind as well, you know, not to leave it too long, because sometimes with applications, you know, there's a sort of a part A and a part B, and you know, you might get follow up then in terms of, you know, the reviewers might be looking for just an additional document or another transcript or something, you know, that's missing from the application. So it's always good to give yourself plenty of time in terms of the applications, and that's just something we've learned along the way, I think, as well. Yeah.
And Lynn, thanks to you as well. Pulling us all together and keeping us on the straight and narrow. So thanks, Lynn.
Appreciate it as well. Great. Yeah, and thanks, Adrienne, for your support with the technology.
Not at all. Take care now.
Lovely. Okay.